What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis,
Scoop,
Tina Amini,
Scoop,
and Ryan McCaffrey.
Howdy.
And we've got a great show for you this week. We're going to share what we've been playing recently, which will include Darksiders 3 and Red Dead Online. We got to talk about the fascinating Fallout 76 situation, a rare example of a AAA game just completely missing the mark. But first, a question I want to pose to you guys, something I've been wondering, is the mini console craze over?
Oh, no.
We reviewed the PlayStation Classic this week. We gave it a 5.5. People seem to be pretty underwhelmed with that console. Of course, the NES and SNES Classics were big hits, but Nintendo has said they have no plans to make an N64 mini.
which is the one people want.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want a GameCube mini.
We've gotten other stuff.
Isn't it mini already?
Mini. We have a Commodore 64 Mini, a Neo Geo Mini that no one really cares much about. Sega announced a Sega Genesis Mini, but ever since that announcement, there have been any other updates. So I wonder, is this a fad that is
that
winding
sound
down?
You hear is the bottom of the barrel being scraped.
Well, Nintendo's the only company to really get it right for sure. That's one thing for sure. Like, the PlayStation Classic, no is the answer. I don't think the mini craze is over, but the PS Classic, Sony just kind of botched it. They were using the wrong versions of the game, sort of the PAL European versions of the games, which run a little slower and run a little different, and not a lot of care and attention to detail in the menus or any kind of extras or museum features. So it just doesn't have the feeling of a product that was put out by a company that really cares about their history and their legacy. That's not to say it's awful. Like, a 5.5 is not the score that Sony wanted for that console, but it also means that you can boot up Resident Evil or Metal Gear Solid and still, sort of relive those 1990s glory days, but it's not, it's not the product that it could have been.
So that's the thing. Like, we could just do a bunch of remasters or like an HD collection, but the point of the mini is supposed to be this like really well-rounded experience. Like you said, they didn't have any extras or museum features, so that's where they kind of failed.
And
there.
the controller for me, that's why I didn't buy one.
Just that includes the original controller, not the DualShock, right? Yeah, it makes a lot of those games feel clunky.
I don't think I need the early 3D era to come back. Yeah. Honestly, like, it just hasn't aged well.
Yeah,
pixel art ages way better.
Well, that's why I wonder if there. Lots of people are saying that. I wonder if Nintendo is hearing that now and thinking, man, our Nintendo 64 games, they might not hold up.
I don't think you'd want to look at Pilot Wings 64 right now. I think you'd be surprised at what it looks like.
But Mario 64. I mean, how it looks, maybe not, but the gameplay is
sure. Yeah, of course.
Everyone points to the N64 Mini, and first of all, I don't believe Nintendo, like, full stop. I think they are working on it.
N64 Mini. Okay.
But everyone's pointing to that. I've sort of long thought in the back of my head they might do a Game Boy Mini first. I think that makes
Game Boy,
sense.
just a original OG Game Boy, or like a Game Boy Advance?
I think an OG Game Boy. Like, if you just brought back the Game Boy and it's got whatever 20 or 30 Game Boy classics on it, you can buy it, play it. It's cheap. I think they would sell.
Those black and white games would.
With a killer battery life on there instead of those
better
screen
screen. I mean, still like a black and white screen or a green screen, however you want to look at it. But better quality, doesn't have the blurring on it, better battery, games packed in. Yeah, that thing would sell like crazy.
I think Nintendo also just has like a way more powerful nostalgia factor than
true.
any of the other companies do. So if anyone's going to still continue that trend, it's going to be them. N64.
What do you guys think? Is the PlayStation Classic just an example of a botched mini console, and we'll still see more mini consoles from manufacturers in the future, or is it a fad that's sort of dying out?
Yeah, I think Justin's on the money. I never even really considered the entire handheld side of the Nintendo but there is still a lot more to be mined from that. Like, I would 100% buy a Game Boy Advance. Just with like 30, 40 games on it. Yeah, I'm in for that.
But also the 3DS has so much stuff on it. So it kind of feels like where's that place in Nintendo's lineup if they're going to make a mini?
That's another criticism of Sony a little bit, is some of those old games they've withheld. Some of that stuff made it to PS3, some's on PS4, but some of the classics that got released on the PS3 didn't make it through to the PS4, and they're just sort of scattered all over the place, and they release this $100 product, whereas Nintendo, they're the kings of reselling you this same game over and over again. But at least they kind of give you options of like, it's not like you have to get the SNES Classic if you really want to relive, Super Mario World or F-Zero. Like there's virtual consoles and other places to get those games.
Yeah, that's true. And then I do need to point out that, Tina, a few episodes ago, you floated the idea of a PC Mini. And then very suspiciously, not long after that, a PC Mini appeared
out of thin air.
Yeah. So I don't know. There are a lot of people in game development out there that listen to this show. Maybe it is a coincidence. Maybe it is a total coincidence.
What else can we will into existence?
Yeah, I know, right?
The timing made me raise an eyebrow on the PC Mini.
Well, hey, if we want it, that's a good thing.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Depending if it's well made and actually has a good library of games.
I will say, my last word on this is the ratio of my hype level for something for the time I actually spent with it that gap has never been bigger than it was with the SNES Classic. I love the look of that thing. And I'm like, this is the greatest game collection of all time. I hooked it up and played it 1 or 2 evenings, and I'm like, I'm good. And I don't necessarily regret buying it. It's a fun little thing to have in my house, my entertainment center. But I did not work my way through all those 16-bit classics kind of like I expected to or anticipated that I
In a way, it's also just a collector's item too, because you can display all your adorable little mini consoles.
Yeah.
And family's over, probably.
Yeah.
Ryan, I wonder, is there any room for Microsoft to participate in this?
They're already doing it. They're doing it via software.
With how?
I mean, the backwards compatibility extends all the way back to the original Xbox now, and they're doing what they can within, because they've said there's a lot of those old publishers that some of the games we love that the publishers don't exist anymore. So literally, where are the contracts? Some of them are in paper in a drawer somewhere. So they've done what they can. And I think there'll be more. There's still more to do. I mean, there's no reason why, there's a nice, healthy relationship with Ubisoft that come on, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, make it work on my Xbox One. Yeah. I want that. Lots of people want that. So I don't see Microsoft doing a physical unit. I think they'll just continue to flesh out their library. They have now a clear strategy of just growing the library across generations.
I don't know that they know how to make anything mini. Design-wise, have you seen the original Xbox?
The last couple Xbox, the X and the S are
giant.
Probably the best made. No, they're tiny.
The X is small. The Xbox One X.
One X. PS4.
Oh yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like the PS2 side.
Yeah, it's like the incredible power in a really well-made.
That's fair. It has a lot
size.
of power in there.
Yeah, they've come a long way for sure.
That backwards compatibility on the Xbox ecosystem is such a dark horse for story of the generation that's just been kind of overlooked or isn't getting the attention that it's due. I mean, you can download and buy. I just had a craving one day. I'm like, man, I really miss SSX Tricky and 3. And you can buy them digitally as if they were a new game. There's no barriers or anything in your way. Buy them, download them. They look better. They've been up-resed and optimized for the console. It was such a seamless, excellent experience that they're leagues ahead of Sony.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is my personal favorite role-playing game of all time. It's from 2003. You can go buy it on any Xbox right now for $10, and it's been enhanced. It's better. It's better than it originally was.
If you have the disc or can find the disc in a GameStop for $2 or whatever, just put that into your Xbox One, and that gives you the rights to the game. And it ticks all the boxes.
It's an awesome system. I could only wish that Nintendo would adopt something similar. Even just going back as far as the GameCube, be able to play those up-res versions of Game Boy games or GameCube games on my Switch. I wish Nintendo.
Failing that, I'll take Super Mario Sunshine Remastered.
Okay. Is that too?
Please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
please and
sure.
thank you.
Will it?
Yeah, I'm willing it right now. I'm willing it right now.
All right, let's move on to what we've been playing recently. I know Red Dead Online launched this week. Ryan and Tina, you've both been playing it a bit, and it seems like people around the office playing it. Seems like people like it. People are positive on it.
Yeah, I would say it's mostly positive.
It is fun to screw around in, that's for sure. My favorite thing in that whole experience is just lassoing people from my horse and dragging them through the streets of town, just purely for the trollish amusement.
I keep seeing people talking about this guy came and invited me to his posse, and then we helped each other, and then he kicked me out of the posse and killed me, so I hogtied him and drove him around on my horse. So technically you can break out of that, but at the same time, I think that's kind of the charm of Red Dead Online.
So how much, spoiler free, how story heavy is it really?
Well, you start off like right out of the bat on a story mission, and it's I think there's like 6 main stories.
Something like that. There are credits. There are opening credits for a Red Dead Online story mode.
Cutscenes, like fully fleshed out. I keep saying on like pretty much every podcast I've been on this week that it feels like Red Dead 2 just kind of relaunched.
Yeah.
The story is not going to be nearly as in depth. You play as a voiceless character, which I didn't love. I don't know how you felt about that, but.
It's it didn't bug me that much. I mean, it is tough to it is a big switch after
From
playing
Arthur
Arthur
Morgan,
and then to a mute.
Yeah.
But, it's fine.
Yeah, it's not as like fully realized as the Red Dead 2 like main campaign story, of course. But there's stuff to do. There's stranger missions, so it does feel like it's just the game with like other players.
Like
there.
you can if you're in a posse together, you can 2 of you can ride on the same horse.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we were
It's adorable.
We were riding back to town together.
Yeah.
You were riding. I was on the back of the
And
horse.
shooting the lawman.
Yeah, there was a guy a passerby, like a passing guy on a horse, just came by, and it's like, I wonder what would happen.
Yeah.
If I just
So
shot him
pulled
square in the
out my
face.
gun and just shot him in the face. So as on Tina's screen as it went by, just this guy's face exploded.
Yeah, and he falls back off his
by.
horse. Yeah.
I was like, well, that was funny. And then there were no witnesses, so we totally got
We
away
were great.
with it.
Yeah, we were good to go. But yeah, it's basically Red Dead 2 with antics, I would say.
Cool. Hijinks.
Yes, exactly.
Do you have to posse up with people, or are you able to like just spawn into that world and then run around messing with people if you want to?
Yeah, you can totally just spawn and do whatever you want. And the way that it works is it's kind of like in Destiny, how they kind of consistently like ping the server and make sure that people are instancing in. So it felt really full to me, even though when we played, it was like a very early closed beta. So there weren't even technically that many people playing, as many as it will be during full launch.
Sure.
But it still felt like really filled with a lot of other players. So.
Seems like it's been pretty stable too, or at least I haven't been reading and hearing horror stories of disconnects and. Yeah,
the biggest thing is while people are figuring out, because there's 2 currencies in the game, like people are figuring out the gold bar currency and like how how extraneous it is, how difficult it is to earn any gold bars. So that's still like kind of in progress, but it's still a beta, so they're figuring that stuff out and taking people's feedback.
How are you finding the character creation tools?
Oh, that one was interesting.
The horror teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think
or no teeth.
Yes, which I went so out of the options, if you're gonna have like 2 brown yellowed teeth on the top row and 2 on the bottom row, or just no teeth, I felt like no teeth was cleaner. I don't know. So I chose. It was called Gummy, which I thought was really cute. They had really cute names for everything. Like I picked really big full lips, and it was called Smoocher.
Yeah.
So there's cute little features in there. What's wrong with Smoocher?
You don't want
just the gummy
Smoocher and Gummy.
combo.
Yeah.
It's $18.99, man.
Yeah.
You do what you got to do.
That was considered hot back then.
Okay, got it.
So it's in beta now. Still only a select people can get in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as of tomorrow, which it'll be Friday, November 30th, which is my birthday.
Oh my gosh!
That will be it will be fully out for everyone.
But still technically in beta. Just
Still
an open
technically in
beta
beta.
for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They did that for your birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, Rockstar was
so
like,
nice.
here you go.
Wow.
Nice of them.
Yeah.
Birthday
Thank you,
beta.
world.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys.
So that's Red Dead Online. I actually played and reviewed Darksiders 3. That review went up on Monday, and I liked that game. I gave it a 7. I liked the original Darksiders a lot, and then Darksiders 2 didn't really click for me, although it's been several years now, and I don't really remember why. But I like this game. It's a straightforward action game, and I explained in the review that it feels like the kind of mid-tier release that was much more common last gen. You don't really see. I guess publishers aren't really willing to spend the time to make a single, just a focused single-player action game that isn't up to the level of polish of a God of War.
Well, in like a single A, or I don't know how you want to categorize it, a B game or single A game, they kind of don't exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either like incredible top tier through the roof production values, or it's sort of like a smaller focused indie game, and that game that sort of exists in the middle. That's what I remarked. You were playing it, right next to my desk. I'm like, this looks like something we would have gotten 10 years ago, and not in like a bad way necessarily, but it's just unusual.
Exactly.
I don't know how the game's going to sell.
Yeah.
But just caveat the heck out of this. I feel like in my sort of gaming circle, IGN community, Twitter, all that, I feel like no one's talking about the game. And so I can't help but wonder the release date. I mean, you're going after Thanksgiving between Red Dead, Smash Brothers. You got, of course, Call of Duty's already out there, Battlefield. And with a game like this where, THQ Nordic has brought the band back together and all this, but they don't have the marketing budget of most of the other big publishers. I do scratch my head. Again, I'm just an idiot in a chair talking about video games. I'm not making those financial decisions, but it just seems odd to me.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a head-scratching move from this chair of why put that game out at that time, when maybe if you hold it to January, when people are kind of like they've gotten their holiday fill, maybe they're ready for something new, like, oh yeah, Darksiders, I like that a lot. Because I'll tell you, we did 2 IGN firsts with this game, 2 month-long stretches of coverage, including originally we announced the game, and we saw just huge numbers, like just very pleasantly, surprisingly big numbers. Like there was obviously interest in the Darksiders brand, and again, maybe the NPDs will come out next month and it'll be number 3 and totally just make everything I'm saying moot. But it feels to me anecdotally like there's just not a lot of attention on Darksiders 3, and with a November 27th release date.
I think it was a smaller team, right? So it was 30, 40 people, not 200 people, 300 people,
1,000 people working on.
And so
Assassin's
I think
Creed.
THQ Nordic, that sort of single A space, like they're running right at it deliberately. Like the game, like obviously they want the game to be a hit, they want it to sell millions, but I think that they're very, very comfortable. They don't need to be in the top 10 of MPD for that game to make okay business sense and, sort of resurrect that Darksiders franchise.
And as far as like a lack of interest, I agree. I haven't seen anyone except you, Damon, talking about the game. And I was so surprised that you actually really liked it, because during our IGN first coverage, like I honestly didn't like love what
wasn't doing it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It felt a little dated in a lot of ways. And I guess maybe I'm so familiar with the franchise that it doesn't feel like anything.
That's an
really
appeal
refreshed.
to some people, though.
I guess.
It's true.
That
I mean,
level
it's
of familiarity.
It's not an open world game. It's just it's not something. It's like I'm enjoying Red Dead 2, but dude, it feels like the never-ending game. Whereas Darksiders 3, you can just play straight through it. You go from boss to boss to boss, and then you wrap up the game, and you're kind of like done. And that feels like nice. There's no multiplayer. There's no microtransactions. No loot boxes. None of that.
It doesn't ask a lot of you. You just sit down.
It is a very difficult game, though. It does ask you to be be very good.
I think from memory, I think the Metacritic is like around a 7. Like you're sort of in the middle. So some people really didn't like it. Like it got some 4s and 5s, but then some people, an equal number of people felt like you did. Like totally good game, worth playing. And then the score sort of fell in that middle range.
Maybe it would have been like in more of an 8 range last gen, but by today's standards, it's not really doing anything exceptionally. It's just like a totally solid action game with a fun combat system. So
yeah, I guess for me personally, it's like, where does that fall into place where I want to be playing games?
Especially this time of year.
Exactly.
There's so much to play. It's like, yeah. To be honest, hate to say it, but it's the kind of game that 6 months to a year from now pops up on PS Plus and Games with Gold, and
Humble
then
Bundle.
People check it out and they're like, oh yeah, this is pretty fun.
And then promptly forget about it again.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
There's a fan base that likes those games, and the end, without spoiling anything, the end indicates that Gunfire Games, the developer, would like to make more of these. So we'll see.
How many more horsemen we got?
Well, there's one more horseman.
One more horseman.
Yeah. People want a game with all 4 of them, like a co-op game.
Yeah,
that'd be
all
cool.
4 horsemen.
It would be cool.
Let's see. Justin, what have you been playing?
It'll be shocking to longtime GameScoop listeners. I have a little bit of an unusual answer. No, I mean, I moved off of Red Dead, and then in a Black Friday sale, I finally picked up Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah, it's a great one.
That game is excellent. Everyone was right. It was really, really cheap on the eShop.
It's difficult though, man.
But I mean, I like XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics in that genre, Disgaea. So I think I'll be okay. I mean, I'll report back in 2 weeks and be like, oh, it's too hard. But I mean, I'm really experienced with strategy games, so I think I'll probably be all right. And it feels Nintendo made. Like nothing about it feels Ubisoft or third party. Like very charming. The story's really interesting. The environment's really interesting. The combat is sort of crunchy and tactical, and you can't just sort of fumble your way through it.
The music is great too.
Music's great. I played it at E3 and just around the office a little bit, and wasn't very impressed. And so I'm glad that now that I've sat down and devoted time to it to sort of prove myself wrong.
Yeah, it's not a game that's going to necessarily get you right away. Yeah. You do need to kind of sink into it a little bit. And,
it doesn't demo super well.
True.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm experiencing now, is that in the demo environment, I'm like, it's pretty slow, and I don't know.
Did your copy include the Donkey Kong?
I chose to
stuff?
get this. They were selling it both ways, and for like the DLC doesn't go on sale very much, so it was on sale, and I bought that as well.
Nice. People always say Nintendo games never go on sale, so
that's why nice I'm digital only on the Switch. I'm trying very, very hard to not have any carts because I don't want to be swapping them in and out and this and that. And the digital games in particular, man, like third-party eShop games get knocked down like 90%, but you rarely see sort of the top-tier games get cheap. So when I saw an eShop sale, I jumped on it.
Yeah, I had to break down. I just bought I went with a 128 gig micro SD card for the Switch. It was like, I think Diablo 3 was what put me over the top. I was like, all right, I don't want to have to worry about this for a while.
By the way, one secret, if you're patient, if you're very patient, you can double up like, Amazon or different places will do like $50 in eShop cash for $40. Like that'll just be an offer, and you can buy a gift card. And then if you also wait until a game is on sale on the eShop, double savings.
That's a life hack.
Yeah, you got to be patient though.
All right, we got to talk about Fallout 76. I was suspicious of this game since it was released. Now that it's here, it is the worst reviewed AAA game of the year and the worst reviewed Bethesda game since Rogue Warrior in like 2010.
And that's before Bethesda really had ramped up their efforts to become a major industry player.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have been even before Skyrim, I think.
2011 was Skyrim.
Yeah. So I don't know. First of all, are you guys surprised by the reception to Fallout 76?
No.
Nope.
I mean, not after the beta. I mean, the beta made it.
The beta sort of
definitely
like
the beta solidified it.
Set your expectations.
Yeah.
I just weirdly, I don't know. This is slight tangent. I've found myself I'm more of an Elder Scrolls guy than a Fallout guy, but I still have played 3, New Vegas, 4.
Yeah.
There was nothing about the idea of Fallout 76 has ever appealed to me. And I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying, for me, the idea of being in a Fallout world with other players who can potentially grief me and then, no NPCs. I was just like, I don't know. I was never even motivated to pick it up.
It doesn't feel like a very Fallout experience. I think that's the reason why. And like even during the most initial news announcements of the game, I think people had this like really weird reaction to it where they felt like that doesn't sound like Fallout whatsoever.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised at all.
I don't understand the no NPC thing. It makes sense in the context of where the game fits in the storyline, where you're the very, very first people to emerge from the vault. But their rigidness in adhering to that, I kind of don't understand. Like, I think that game would be improved, narratively, and would be a more interesting play space if there were towns with shopkeepers and, people other than robots and diaries giving you quests, and that doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, it feels like a back of the box bullet where it's like every human you meet is another player in the game. And I'm like, yeah, but the trade-offs you make to achieve that, that marketing bullet are not worth it from what it takes away from sort of the interesting moral choices and just the wacky, zany characters you used to be able to interact with.
And there is lore in the game, but you have to really dig for it and then read through dozens of files just to begin to scratch at the surface. So if that's not your thing, then you're pretty much out of luck there.
That's why I'm wondering in my head, what was Bethesda's original vision? What did they expect people to think about this game? Are they surprised now? What's the conversation over at Bethesda's offices today?
I don't think they're surprised at all. All game publishers do mock reviews. They'll bring in freelance game critics, people that aren't working for an IGN full time, to do a mock review on an early build of their game, to have a general idea of where the reviews are going to go. So they're probably not surprised. They might be maybe it's a little lower than they might have thought, but they did know this was coming. I'm going to just speak for Dan Stapleton, who, not that he's the only one to have made this point, but I think they could have avoided a lot of the bad will by, because they sold this as a full retail $60 AAA blockbuster price. If they had said, hey, it's an early access game, it's an Xbox game preview game, here's the core of it, and we're going to be working on it over time, which they are.
Yeah, they totally will.
I think they could have headed off a lot of the negative feedback on it, but whether the corporate suits won out and said, we just need this to be a $60 game and make us a ton of money because we don't have any other big Q4 releases, or creatively they decided that, I don't know, but they're taking a big L on this one, which Bethesda hasn't really. Yeah, they've been on a nice run. I mean, Wolfenstein, Doom, Fallout, Elder Scrolls. These are all games. Even what's the
Dishonored?
Dishonored and the horror game that I'm blanking on.
Evil
now.
Within.
Thank you. Have all been very well received. Yeah. So this is the first black eye for them in a while.
And even though Dishonored 2 didn't sell very well, it was critically, adored by everyone. So that's
for sure.
It's the first. You're right. It's the first L they've taken in a while. I mean, there's the game design part of it, with just the baffling lack of NPCs, and that doesn't have to be mutually exclusive to being an online game, and sort of forcing an online game into something that no one asked for that.
Yeah.
But then it's like buggy and early too, right? So it's like it has this compounding factor. If people are already teetering on the edge of kind of wanting to poke fun at the game and make fun of it, and the game makes itself so easy to be made fun of when all these clips circulate.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of comparisons to Elder Scrolls Online. Well, that was sort of an offshoot game, just like this is. Except I think the difference is, number one, Elder Scrolls Online didn't launch in a super stellar way, and over time it has very much rebuilt itself into an excellent MMO. But I think the difference between the two is, I feel like Elder Scrolls Online did not even attempt to fool you into it being like a solo Elder. Like everybody you meet is a human player. It's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game.
It was also ZeniMax too.
Yeah, it was labeled ZeniMax, whereas this game is Bethesda Game Studios, but Fallout 76 sort of tries to have it both ways. Like, well, it's still a single-player game, but it's also a multiplayer game, and it's
It does strike me as, I play the Fallout games for the same thing, Dan was saying, and we were talking about earlier, just like making interesting choices and meeting interesting people. But I will probably play this game in like January, not February, because things get crazy again. But like whenever there's like an empty chunk of time and some of the worst of the bugs have been ironed out, like just chill out, run around the Appalachian Mountains, just like do some quests, grind. Like nuke some towns. It strikes me as a nice like lean back and just kind of chill and like go where the map marker tells me sort of style of game.
What if no one's playing the game by then?
I don't care.
But that's the whole experience.
I don't care.
They've replaced the NPCs.
But even if it is lonely, like I don't like that can be okay too. Like that's actually the way that I played Elder Scrolls Online was I played that game as a solo game, and like you lose a lot with that, but that's the same way I played that game. It's just kind of a chill out game.
We actually wrote a piece on. We had a freelancer write a piece for us on like what the Fallout 76 experience is if you're playing solo, and he basically said it's very lonely. Even if you are running by other players, you can choose that lonely path.
Yeah.
But there's just like the text that you can pick up, and then you're just kind of going across and grinding through the same old quests. So it doesn't seem like it works very well as a solo experience.
I played Destiny that way too, though, and I'm not saying it's gonna be great. Maybe I'll report back in January and be like, nah, this is still really bad. But I suspect that particularly when the frustrating, annoying bugs are ironed out, that there'll be something there as just kind of a chill out and grind style game.
Yeah. I was just going to say No Man's Sky is another game that had a disastrous launch, but to Hello Games' credit, they stuck with it. They didn't just abandon it. They worked on improving the game with several updates, and now with the sort of relaunch of No Man's Sky next, it's a totally different product that everyone that I've talked to that has played it has really enjoyed it.
Here's two other quick points. Number one, Bethesda has, I believe, Doom Eternal is their the next game due out for ZeniMax / Bethesda.
What about Rage 2?
Okay, maybe it's Rage 2, but both of those games have been pretty well received thus far. So I don't think this little black eye will last very long. People, the next good game will take care of it. And then totally forgot the other thing I was going to say.
It'll come to you. But I do think the baggage will linger for Fallout 76 because it even has for No Man's Sky, despite it being like a basically new product. A lot of people just have that association of moved on.
I mean, you reminded me real quick what I was going to say. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that is, I think there'll be plenty of time for this to go away because barring another sort of side game, we're likely not going to get Fallout 5 proper for
long
seriously, I'm not even joking, a decade. Because Todd Howard's team is on their Starfield and then Elder Scrolls, which they told us at E3. It's way out, but we're making it. And Fallout 5 would be after that.
Yeah.
So
when I think at this point, that decision had already been made because they said so at E3, but it would kind of have to be the case at this point. Like, is the Bethesda brand permanently tarnished? No, but like the Fallout brand is in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. So they almost don't have much of a choice but to kind of rest it for a while and then come back with something amazing.
Yeah. Well, they also kind of have to like I was just saying with No Man's Sky. Now they kind of have to dig into this and really work on improving the 76 experience.
You're exactly right. Like whether that player count drops off and whether it makes sense for their business, they kind of don't have a choice but to at least earn some of that goodwill back over the next couple months, several months.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a bummer for them. Fallout 76 was supposed to be their big, that's their only game they have coming out this fall, this holiday season. And like I said earlier, it is the worst reviewed AAA game of the year. It has lower Metacritic scores than Metal Gear Survive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it a worse? I don't know if it's a worse.
Maybe it's not, but it's.
I mean, it's reached that point where it's like a dog pile now, and like it's this compounding. Like, do you see the thing about the collector's edition, the nylon bag?
Yeah, I just had
like they promised everybody it was going to be a canvas bag, and then it was a nylon bag. And I'm not saying that's not a big deal. Like that sucks. That's $200. Like, please deliver what you promised. But like, it's become an even bigger story, and it's amplified by like now it's part of a narrative of like this game sort of screwing people over, and like Bethesda they're going to have to really, really work hard to undo that.
Yeah, even their make good on that was like 500 atoms or whatever, and people were kind of mocking that too. So I definitely feel like the baggage is going to stick around.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot.
Nylon baggage.
Exactly.
Let's check in with listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Sean in Spokane, Washington.
You have to type it that way too, really fast. Gamescoop at IGN.com.
Or else it won't make it to us.
Goose Camp.
Goosecamp@IGN.com also works. So with the release of Red Dead Online, it had me walking down memory lane to my first great online gaming experience. For me, it was either diving into Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast and thinking, oh man, those 4 other people I just passed are real people. They're also sitting on their couches. Or my first dive into the MMO world with EverQuest. What were your first great online gaming memories?
Interesting.
Wow, good one.
It's got one.
Are we talking about the internet online?
Yeah.
Or because I go back to the modem days.
Yeah?
Like that's how old I am.
What were you playing?
I mean, all right. The original Doom.
Sure.
That's probably my desert island game, gun to my head. There was a service that I joined up that you paid a monthly fee for called DWANGO, Dial-Up Wide Area Network Gaming Organization.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was sort of sanctioned by id Software. And you had them in each city because back then there were long distance charges. You'd only want to dial your local number. Otherwise, you paid lots of money per minute. But yeah, I was on the Phoenix server in Arizona, and it was this group of people. Everybody would subscribe, and you'd get, depending on the tier you paid for, a certain number of gaming minutes per month. You could hang out in the lobby as long as you want, and I believe I spent a ton of time in that lobby. But yeah, I would go on, and it was an easy way that you could play 4-player Doom. Because otherwise, literally the act of playing 4-player Doom back then involved 4 PCs in one place, 4 giant CRT monitors in one place, the network cards, 10 base T Ethernet connections, terminators for the ends of it. It was just a whole unbelievable, ridiculous setup. Whereas DWANGO lets you actually go through the phone line and play totally awesome Doom deathmatch. So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really old, you guys.
I remember the first game I remember playing online was StarCraft. Warcraft 2 and StarCraft, and I played a lot of 1v1 StarCraft and Big Game Hunters, which is like an 8-player map in StarCraft, and it was really, really great. And like one of the earliest precursors to like what would eventually go on to be like Dota, but no one knew like what it was yet. It's like you are a hero that like levels up as the match goes on, which was really popularized in Warcraft 3, but people are kind of already playing around with it in the mission creators back even earlier than that. Many, many hours of, how old would I have been? Gosh, I don't know, 11, 12.
11 playing StarCraft?
Yeah.
It's impressive to me.
Maybe 13.
How good were you?
In my head, I was good. You had like an
but
ELO.
You were also 11. So.
You had like an ELO rating like in chess, and like I think you started at 1,000, and like if you were really, really good, you might be like 2,000 or a little higher. And I think I was like 13 or 1,400. So not
What
bad.
does ELO stand for?
I don't know.
Cool. Tina, how about you?
I'm going to stick it to Blizzard as well. Wow. And mine was World of Warcraft. So not that I'm necessarily very proud of this, but I spent I feel like it's like the most significant online gaming experience that I had because I spent years playing through. And you really do just become friends with your guildmates. I would sometimes log in, like I was in high school for a lot of this experience, and my dad would be like watching the news, and I'd be on my laptop, and I just log in, not even to play, just to kind of like chat with my guildmates and catch up. So it felt like a kind of like a social experience, I think.
I always really wanted to play both EverQuest and World of Warcraft, but I never allowed myself to because I knew.
Too addictive?
Seriously, I'm like, I want to play other video games.
Yeah.
And I'd seen
it's all consuming.
I'd seen it with friends and like people in my life that just like went down the rabbit hole and never came out. So it's like, I can't do this. It's not going to end well for me.
And the funny thing is like your first grind up to like level 10, I think I spent until like 3 a.m. just bursting through with a friend, and you're doing the most ridiculous things. Like you just hunt the same wolf over and over, and then talk to the same NPC over and over. But it still like weirdly felt like this bonding experience between you and this person as you like rank up the levels.
World of
Warcraft. Such a loot-based game too. It's fun to get your new weapons and mounts. Are you saying that or?
Yeah, no.
Okay,
I completely I've spent many years with WoW, and when I played it, I was on a dial-up connection, and so I couldn't go into the big cities because it was too much like data passing back and forth, and the game would crash. So I had to like stay in the wilderness. I couldn't go where there were too many other human players.
So no raids for you then?
No raids for me back then. I mean, then obviously in a year or two we got off the dial-up, and that was my first experience with WoW. MMOs being sort of, it's like here's video games and MMOs sort of exist over here in this other room. And to me, that's one of the biggest just shames in modern gaming is people that don't think they're into MMOs or don't want to give them a try. Like World of Warcraft is legit one of the greatest games ever made. But since it's put in this sort of other bucket, like how many people that like role-playing games or third-person action games that would love it just never get a chance to give it a shot or don't think that it's for them.
Well, it's definitely not for everyone.
No, but like that and like Final Fantasy 14 and
it was for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, that's the thing. It is, Diablo, StarCraft, Warcraft, Overwatch. WoW is, come fight me. It is got to be the most significant game in Blizzard's history, in their very decorated history.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I have such fond memories of Guild Wars 2 and FF14 and WoW, and those and Lord of the Rings Online even. And I'm not someone that spent thousands and thousands of hours in MMOs, but they're worth. I guess if someone's on the fence, I would say download it and you can play it like level from 1 to 110, and then you can bounce. Like it doesn't need to be like a lifestyle, and just as a journey through a world, it's worth experiencing.
I think I was a little bit of a later bloomer with getting my games online. I don't think I really got online until I got my Xbox 360. And the game I got with the console was Rainbow Six Vegas.
Oh, solid choice.
And online terrorist hunt is so fun in that game. I played that
T-Hunt.
For like a whole year, I think, in 2007, whenever I got the 360.
Strong
you can use the Xbox camera to take a picture of your face, put it on your character.
That's really good.
It's like making these goofy faces, shooting terrorists together. It's so fun.
The other formative one for me was Xbox Live with Halo 2, which I'm sure, Ryan, was a gigantic deal for you as well.
Yeah.
That was the first time I can really remember being a part of a group. It was in like a little Halo clan, and we would play together and try to rank up together. And that was the first time I also remember, I guess I was doing matchmaking in StarCraft, but like that's the first time I really remember focusing on like trying to be, the best at something and climb up these ranks.
Yeah.
I don't think any game in my life will, from now until the end of my days, will ever be as good for me as Halo 2 was, because you had this incredible game, this just classic multiplayer game. It was instantly classic on this newish service, Xbox Live.
Yeah.
That and everybody that was there in those days wanted to be there. There was minimal trolling and griefing and that kind of stuff. And the way the party and lobby system worked was at the absolutely revolutionary. No hyperbole. And just it was just this perfect storm of this game at this moment of time on the right service, and it was all like basically perfect. And you'll never convince me otherwise.
Are you saying there was no griefing in the series that invented teabagging?
I was just going to say, that's where teabagging came from.
Compared to now,
Halo 2 had a really good community.
Yeah.
There weren't people running, it wasn't just like the vile YouTube come to life thing that you expect in an online game.
Well, and everybody chatted. Like, multiplayer is so lonely now. Like, if you ever do pop into Call of Duty or whatever, it's either people, taking bong hits and you're just hearing that over your headset,
or like blaring music.
Or blaring music. And like, I'm guilty of this too. Or there's just it's 32 people just it's just silent.
They're all on the private party chat.
Yeah. Whereas in Halo 2, it's like, you're meeting friends. Where are you from?
Yeah, you guys had very different chat experiences than I did. Yeah. Try not to talk on online games.
Yeah.
On that note, this is Trulin Rockwood. He says, greetings from Rexburg. Rexburg.
All of that was made up. Yeah. Everything you just said was fictional.
I'm sorry, Rexburg, Idaho. So Trulin Rockwood from Rexburg.
Got it.
Medium time listener, first time writer. Castlevania is a series I have zero experience with. The Netflix show is piquing my interest, and I would also like to get into some of the games. I'm a big fan of the setting and aesthetic. I have a 3DS, Xbox One X, and PS4. What would you recommend is a good place to start and then go forward from?
Symphony of the Night on Xbox One X. It's backwards compatible.
But then you can't go forward from there. That's the problem. You're starting at the mountaintop.
That's a good point. It is
Symphony of the Night, I think, is a 97 or 98 game. It's probably still the best Castlevania game ever made. It was just re-released as part of the Castlevania Requiem package, where it's packaged with Rondo of Blood, which is also a very cool Castlevania game from the 16-bit era. So that's a good place to try it out. However, that version of Symphony of the Night updated some of the voice acting, tried to fix some of the laughably bad voice acting, which I actually really love in the original. So they did that for the PSP release.
He said he's got a 3DS too?
Yeah, well, that's all just to say that I think that original version that was released on Xbox 360 has the original voice acting.
Yeah.
So if you can get that on your Xbox One X, that's probably the best way to play Symphony of the Night.
What, Trulin?
Yeah.
What you
Call
need?
him Mr. Rockwood.
Mr. Rockwood. What you need to understand is that there's two Castlevania franchises, right? There's the Castlevania franchise that's linear 2D action games. Like, you go from level 1 to level 2, level 3, and then you make it to the end of the game. You whip Dracula in the face and kill him and save the day. And then there's the open world one, the Metroid ones. That's why it's called Metroidvania. And that started with Symphony of the Night. And there's Symphony of the Night, and I believe 6 of them that came out on
GBA all through DS.
Circle of the Moon.
Yeah, Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance.
Aria of Sorrow.
Aria of Sorrow, and then they came to the DS. And I actually don't know. I think 1 or 2, Order of Ecclesia was a 3DS game.
There was a couple on 3DS, but it was they
like sort of went back to.
It was based on the Castlevania, the 3D reboot that they did on last gen.
In any case, like what I'm getting at is he's got the 2 correct consoles in order, like, you can do Symphony of the Night on your Xbox, and then the handheld ones that follow that Symphony of the Night ethos of being Metroid-like games.
Yeah,
you can then play those on your 3DS,
and also through the 3DS eShop, he has access to Castlevania 3.
Yeah.
Which is the best of the original Castlevanias on the NES.
If you want to go back in time, Castlevania 1 and 2 are classics, and they deserve to be revered as classics. I think they're quite a bit harder to go back to in a modern context if you didn't appreciate them, when they were contemporary.
But I think 3 is still very fun.
But 3, yes.
Very playable today. And then there's, of course, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which is not Castlevania, but made by the guy who worked on Symphony of the Night, and it's a Castlevania-like game.
The 8-bit one.
Yeah.
Right?
That's one out now.
Okay.
The full, more modern Bloodstained isn't out until next year. This is an 8-bit spinoff that's really, really good, and it's out this year. And that's on, I guess it's on Switch and PC, which he didn't list as part of his platform, so maybe you can't access that.
Symphony of the Night is my second favorite game of all time.
After Super Metroid?
Yeah.
You like those Metroidvanias?
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Who doesn't? And that brings us to Video Game 20 Questions. Our suggestion comes from Caleb in Kentucky, and he says, while recently listening to some older episodes on my daily commute, I came across episode 416. For 20 questions, there was a bet that if the Scoop Crew guessed the game correctly, the person who suggested the game should get a tattoo. I'd like to present the same challenge to the Omega Cops. If my game is guessed correctly, I will get a Game Scoop tattoo.
No.
And send a picture in.
We just redid the logo. I mean, come on. Look at it.
It is a good
Beautiful.
A tattoo. Caleb, you're not being held to your word. I just thought that was an interesting challenge to put out there.
I feel like we need some intel on these people. Like, how old are they? Like, what did they play growing up? It'd be good to have that kind of context.
Instead of getting
I'm trying to
cheat.
Narrow it down.
Instead of getting,
well, he's from
I
Kentucky.
We like
I don't know what that tells
Looking
you.
at Google Trends right now.
we like getting envelope art. So here's what I would say: instead of getting game scoop art on your body, please, send us, if you have an artistic bone in your body, send us some envelope art. It always makes my day whenever someone arrives and Damon shows it to me, and I always love that in old EGMs.
But anyway, Caleb from Kentucky, let the questioning begin.
Can you see your character's hands in this game?
Yes.
Is this game on a mini console?
Ooh.
No.
That was just my joke one.
That's good.
I like it.
Was this game made after the year 2000?
Yes.
Did this game release? Did this game originally release on this generation of consoles?
No.
The current generation?
No.
But I saw him. There is a version. I think there might be a version because he.
Wait, did you say release?
He said originally released.
Oh, okay.
It looked like Damon was about to say yes and then caught himself.
Maybe it got ported.
I'm psychoanalyzing his body language.
Oh, I always
But either
do.
way, that means it was last gen. It was 360, PS3, because it was after 2010.
This doesn't count as a question.
Oh, it was after
2000.
After 2000.
So
okay.
Okay.
After 2000.
Is there multiplayer in this game?
No.
Is it from the 360, PS3, GameCube generation?
No.
Okay, so then that should take us back.
It's
PS2, Xbox.
yeah. You should have said
GameCube.
Wii instead of GameCube, but I know what you mean.
Oh yeah, I just got my.
Yeah.
Look at my notes here.
I hate burning a question on it, but I think we have to ask: is it from the OG Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation?
Yes.
Okay, we got there.
OG Xbox, PS2.
GameCube.
All right. Well,
PS2.
this is a good era
Yeah.
for me certainly.
Do you fight people in this game? Like, do you kill people in this game?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
Pretty easy
you
one.
can see your hands.
Third person. That's what that indicates to me.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Well, that's true.
It could be Breakdown from the original Xbox,
Yeah, you're
which
right.
is a first-person melee game.
The see your hands question is stupid.
It's the most workaround question.
Was
I think
this
is
game
the third person.
a console exclusive?
No.
No. All right. So it's should rule out a lot of like Nintendo stuff or
For all first party stuff. Was this game developed in the United States?
No. Ooh, no.
Oh man, so confused.
Not in the United States. That's 10.
It's either Canadian or European?
so it's a multi-platform.
I usually ask. I think that tripped Damon up because I usually ask like in the Americas.
You should have.
Well,
What
You
happened?
didn't.
but I didn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Is it an RPG?
No.
So that's one off the books.
Hmm?
I'm gonna leap right
Oh,
here.
this is good
I'm
podcast
just-
material.
I'm
Yeah.
just-
Is this was this game developed in Europe?
Not.
Wait.
Oh, this is good.
No, I mean the simple answer is no, but it's a confusing answer.
Maybe it's.
Oh, I
Maybe,
wonder
like,
if it's.
DLC
I wonder if
was
it's
made
Splinter.
in Europe?
It's a Splinter Cell game developed like the multiplayers in Europe and the single players in Montreal.
Could be. Although all the ones from that, no, they did come out on PS2, didn't they?
Yeah,
I always
eventually.
associate them
Eventually.
with Xbox.
Let's see.
Well, you could ask if
Oh
it's
wait,
a shooter.
what did you ask?
RPG.
RPG.
Yeah.
Okay,
But you do kill people, so it could
you
be.
do kill people. Okay, yeah. So, Hitman, Splinter Cell.
Mm-hmm.
You could ask if it's a shooter. Is it a shooter?
You shoot in this game.
Okay.
That's good. Still, we
Yeah.
haven't ruled anything out.
So a third person shooter.
Well, you can.
So
yeah.
already, this is 13 questions we're at now.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
my goodness. All right.
Getting down there.
Is it a stealth game?
Yes.
Okay,
Ah.
so we're getting there. We're getting there.
So possibly Hitman.
It could be
Hitman, Splinter Cell, Metal Gear. Well, yeah, Metal Gear is Japan. So I mean, we're sort of, or like one of the B-sides that is like forgotten from that era.
Yeah, it's probably Hitman or Splinter Cell. I'm trying to think about
Probably.
the smartest way to.
Are there costumes in this game?
well, they-
Are there costumes? Like,
I think.
is it a mechanic
Like
that
a-
your character would
Yeah.
put on a costume? No.
Okay, so
it's
that's
not
no
Hitman.
Hitman's out. Is it in the Tom Clancy franchise?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So it's a
there we
Splinter
go.
Cell
Yeah.
game. Now we just have to figure out which one.
We got four questions left.
So there's Splinter Cell 1,
2, 3.
Pandora Tomorrow, or of course Chaos Theory being the big one.
Is this the first game in a series?
Yes.
You can do the honors.
Is it Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell?
It is.
Nice.
We did it.
We did it.
That is up my alley.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah,
glad you had me
seriously,
on
this
this.
was
Yeah, yeah.
perfectly for you.
Ubisoft Montreal. Is what
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay. That makes
I remember that. So the lighting in that game at the time was stunning. The real-time dynamic lighting. And I remember we got a preview build in the OXM office, and there was a curtain. Like at one point, you're in a place where there's like a curtain, and like the lights coming through it, and we just kept like crouch running back and forth with the curtain just to watch what would happen with the light. It was
That's cute.
That game's amazing.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the first Splinter Cell has any multiplayer. I think it's
Correct.
just
It was
a
introduced in
single-player game.
Pandora Tomorrow, the Spies versus Mercs.
Perfected in Chaos Theory.
Perfected in Chaos Theory. And Chaos Theory is the single greatest Splinter Cell game by far.
Chaos Theory is the one where like it basically was 2 games in one. Like the multiplayer was a completely separate.
It was
game.
actually
like,
sort of 2.5. There was a separate
Campaign,
6-mission 2-player co-op campaign that was a side story where at one point you like talk to Sam over the radio, and it's like a clever cheeky thing, but you did co-op moves to get through. Like you'd back to back to
Yeah,
get
I
up an
remember that.
elevator
I
shaft.
remember that now,
You
yeah.
could one guy could crouch and the other one could run up, and you'd like throw him as like a human missile into another guy. Just unbelievable game. The highest score I ever gave at OXM. Actually, the highest score OXM gave anything, because we were on the 100-point scale. We never gave a 10.0. I gave it a 9. I tried. They talked me down to a 9.9.
there you go.
OXM.
Wow.
Stand by that to this day. Brilliant game.
When is Splinter Cell coming back? It's time.
Ironside's back in the fold.
Yeah.
So that's job one.
Well, here's step 1. Make Sam Fisher one of the Smash DLC characters.
Ah, okay.
And step 2 is make a new Splinter Cell game. What could possibly go wrong? Like, why? Who would be against it? Nintendo, Xbox, just make it happen.
Let's get that Chaos Theory backwards
Ubisoft.
compatible for on Xbox.
That first, yeah.
Guys.
I want Banjo Kazooie, and I want
That was the rumor, and that turned out not to.
and I want Sam Fisher.
Yeah. You already have Snake, though.
Yeah,
They're kind of similar
nah,
characters.
that's fine.
There are some legitimately funny, just hilarious dialogue in Chaos Theory.
I really liked
Really good stuff.
Conviction and Blacklist were both the last gen ones, right?
Conviction was 360. Both of those were 360.
I thought both those games were great. I liked them both.
Yeah.
Okay, that is all the scoops that we have for you this week. If you have your questions for the show, email them to gamescoop@ign.com. Next week will be December. We'll be in December, final 3 episodes of the year, and we'll get to start all of our year-end wrap-up content, which will be really fun. I always look forward to. Yeah. But thank you, Justin. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Ryan. My name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop. We're out.